Picture this: torrential rain, a grand ancestral hall lit up by flickering lanterns. A man is kneeling in the mud. His robes are absolutely soaked, there's blood at the corner of his mouth, and his family? They're just standing there perfectly dry beneath the eaves, their faces completely blank. It is such a stunning opening image. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack a truly brilliant storyboard for a short cinematic narrative called The Second Life of Lin Shou. What makes this document so fascinating is that it's actually a blueprint. It's a script and visual guide designed for a short, atmospheric fantasy video. But the story it tells and the incredibly smart way it tells it is just so powerful.
Right off the bat, our story begins in absolute despair. The cold open hits us with this heavy, exhausted voiceover from our protagonist, Lin Shou. We hear him say, "26 years I gave that house. It cost me nothing to leave because I had already given it all away." As the camera slowly pushes in on his face, we instantly feel the immense toll his life has taken. He has spent 26 years pouring his soul into an ungrateful family, only to be cast out by a cold, totally unmoved patriarch. The emotional weight here is immediate, and honestly, it's suffocating.
So that brings us to a really fascinating question. How do you tell a perfect story of revenge without a single punch being thrown? Okay, let's dive into this because it's the central puzzle of the entire storyboard. Yes, it's a revenge story, but it completely subverts the way we expect these things to play out. There's no training montage designed to eventually go back and beat up the bad guys with a glowing sword. No, instead, it's a masterclass in walking away. To understand exactly how it pulls this off, we need to break down the mechanics of the storyboard itself.
Part 1. The Anatomy of Rebirth, Setting the Scene.
We're going to deconstruct this 12-scene cinematic narrative. But first, to really appreciate what Lin Shou is walking away from, we kind of need to understand his world. This storyboard is written in the style of wuxia or shangxiao. If you aren't familiar, it's a Chinese fantasy genre deeply rooted in martial arts heroes, magical cultivation bases, and incredibly strict hierarchies involving honor, clan, and family. In this genre, being expelled from your ancestral hall isn't just a bad day, it's essentially a death sentence for your social and spiritual standing. It is the ultimate disgrace.
And death is exactly what finds Lin Shou kneeling in that mud. We get a whispered, "Not again," as his eyes close. A hard cut to black, but then, boom, a hard cut to bright daylight. We drop right into the rebirth. We see a small child's hands gripping a heavy wooden practice sword. It's Lin Shou. He is 6 years old again, but here's the catch. He retains every single one of his 26 years of weary, painful memories. Can you imagine waking up with the exact knowledge of how your family is going to betray you 20 years in the future?
Part 2. Escaping the Ancestral Hall, Leaving Toxic Environments.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Lin Shou reacts. In a standard genre story, the hero would use this future knowledge to secretly train, outsmart his rivals, and claim the patriarch's seat for himself. But Lin Shou makes a radically different, and honestly, a much healthier decision. This 6-year-old boy sits across from his mother and speaks with the heavy seriousness of a grown man. When explaining why they need to leave the estate entirely, he says, "Because nobody there is waiting for me to fail, and nobody there has already chosen who I have to lose to." It is this profound grasp of his own agency. He knows the game is rigged. His golden-robed brother, Lin Ri, is the chosen favorite. So instead of playing a rigged game, he flips the board. His mother understands immediately, packs 2 travel bags, and they leave at dawn, completely unnoticed.
And this sets up the core thematic tension of our whole explainer. We're looking at 2 vastly different paths. On one hand, Lin Shou is building a true foundation. He is unwatched, he isn't being measured by toxic elders, and he earns every ounce of his respect. On the other hand, back at the estate, his brother Lin Ri relies entirely on inherited status. If you think back to the opening, Lin Ri was literally performing grief, weeping into his mother's shoulder just to get Lin Shou expelled. Lin Ri's foundation is built entirely on performance and privilege, not actual merit.
Part 3. Forging an Earned Foundation, the Montage of Merit.
To really show Lin Shou's path, the storyboard outlines this fantastic, fast-cut 30-second montage. We see a teenage Zhou with ink-stained hands correcting spirit formations in a warehouse. We see him sparring alone at dawn. He's laughing at a market stall where absolutely nobody is deferring to his fancy surname. He's sharing a joke with the woman who will become his wife. And eventually, he's a young man standing before a hall full of students who genuinely look up to him. The narrator delivers this crucial insight over the montage. Talent doesn't disappear when you stop performing it for people who never valued it. It just finally has somewhere to grow. It's incredibly empowering.
And the production notes map out an audio design that perfectly mirrors this emotional journey. In the first minute, the tense, anxiety-inducing strings of the abusive estate give way to a single, open, hopeful flute as they escape. During the montage we just talked about, the music builds into something really warm and triumphant. But then, right at minute 3, there's a discordant string snap. The music sharply cuts out.
Part 4. The borrowed foundation cracks. The true test.
That string snap brings us to the climax. 10 years have passed, and the narrative abruptly cuts back to the world Lin Zhou left behind. We see Lin Rui, the favored son, mid-battle at a border wall. And it's a disaster. His cultivation base, his magical martial arts power, visibly ruptures outward in this burst of unstable light. The elders in the background watch in absolute horror as their golden boy fails spectacularly. And the voiceover hits us with the ultimate verdict. A borrowed foundation cracks under its first true test.
The juxtaposition here is just completely striking. While Lin Rui experiences this catastrophic failure due to his totally unearned status, the scene right before this showed Lin Zhou in his early 30s. He's standing on a balcony overlooking the city at sunset, wearing official's robes with a plaque reading Magistrate of Trade and Defense. He earned that title. As the script says, he rose. Of course he rose.
Part 5. Directing the Vision, Production Masterclass.
Now, stepping back from the narrative for just a second, this document is also a totally fascinating look at how modern creators actually build these visual worlds using AI tools. So the crucial point here is how the creator ensures the characters look consistent from scene to scene. The notes instruct the creator to feed each scene's visual line as a separate prompt, but to anchor the visuals by repeating a specific consistency tag. For our hero, it's always Lin Zhou, black robes, calm, tired eyes. For the antagonist, it's patriarch, cold, unmoved. Repeating these exact phrases is kind of the secret sauce to keeping a moody, muted palette locked in across the entire 3.5-minute runtime.
Let's move to how this builds into the audio design too, because the script relies super heavily on voiceover. The notes give very specific steps for text-to-speech tools or human actors. You use a single narrator to keep the internal monologue cohesive, right? But you subtly shift the age of the voice. Use a younger tone for his childhood and teenage years, and then shift to a settled, older tone from scene 8 onward as he becomes the magistrate. It's a brilliant, subtle auditory cue that reinforces the passage of time without relying on clunky exposition.
And it's this older, settled voice that leads us to the resolution. An older Lin Zhou, with gray at his temples, sits on his porch while his mother prunes flowers nearby. He receives a letter from the family that cast him out. It reads, "We did not know what we had until we had already thrown it away." It's an apology. It's an invitation to come back. But Lin Chao's expression, completely unreadable. He doesn't gloat. He simply writes a reply. And as the voiceover tells us, he does not sign it, "Your son." He signs it with the name he built for himself, a name that never needed their approval.
He seals the letter, hands it to a courier without ceremony, and simply turns back to his own children running to meet him. The final image is wide and warm, bathed in golden late afternoon light. The toxic ancestral hall isn't even in the frame anymore. It's literally just a memory. And the final on-screen text delivers the ultimate lesson of this whole rebirth. Some debts aren't collected. Some are simply never paid again. It is a stunningly mature resolution. True victory wasn't about destroying his enemies. It was about rendering them completely irrelevant to his happiness.
It's a beautifully crafted narrative that hits so hard because, let's be real, its fantasy elements reflect very true human experiences. We've seen how Lin Zhou walked away from a rigged game to build an unshakable, earned foundation. So I want to leave you with this to think about. Look at the spaces you navigate every day. What foundations in your own life are you building truly for yourself? And what toxic debts, what inherited expectations is it finally time to just let go of? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope this sparks some curiosity, and I'll catch you next time.